So I just taught my first college course, and to be honest with you, it was pretty cool, and I'll tell you why. Um, when I was teaching in K-12, one of the things that was really apparent just from the jump was that a lot of students didn't want to be there, and it's understandable. You wake a kid up at 5 a.m. They gotta get on the bus and go to school, or walk to school, or get dropped off. They go to a building where they're told what to do, when to do it, how to do it. They can't talk. They can't. You tell them all those different things, and then by the time they come to you in the classroom, they don't really want to be there. But the college classes are a little bit different, just based on the sheer fact that they're paying to be there. Now, I think that changes the environment because you're no longer trying to push the student to want to be in class, but now you're more so trying to use that desire to hopefully create more curiosity and create more engagement. And it creates a really intimidating feeling. I don't know, it's like, it's very intimidating because you know that these students, I gotta stop saying kids, but these students want to learn. They want to be put in a really good position to compete in this, crazy economy. So with that, it's like, okay, if I'm paying all this money to come to college, I'm gonna need you to come with it. And, thinking about that kind of makes you get a little bit nervous. However, this class went very smoothly. I really had a really good time just interacting with the students and knowing that I was in a space where I knew that the students were kind of like, had very similar mindsets for like where they wanted to be. In this particular class session, I, did a rendition of a sermon that I heard one time. It was by Pastor Andy Stanley, and he was talking about the importance of understanding who you want to be. And as educators, I think it's super important for educators to understand first who they want to be, right? Especially when you're in college, and not just educators, but anyone who's in college or trying to figure out, their life. Before you start deciding like where you want to be and what you want to do, you need to determine what kind of character traits you want to have, right? You want to be thinking about the type of person you want to be on the inside, because at any given moment, you can be forced to switch context. You could be laid off from a job. You could be, shunned from a certain position or environment. And in those spaces, you might find yourself forgetting who you are as an individual, especially if you didn't put in the groundwork beforehand. So I think it's super important for educators to understand that too, right? Before you hop in the classroom, before you start deciding, who you want to be around and what kind of environment you want to be in and what work you want to do, you need to first decide who you want to be. And the great thing about that, and this is what I told my students, the great thing about that is you can be those things without being a teacher. You can be those things without being, a social worker, or without being someone in health sciences, or when you focus on that, I think it creates more flexibility in your life, and it takes off some of those constraints, because you can get to a place, even as an educator, and I felt this before, once I came out of the classroom, it was like, who am I? Who am I now? So it's like I had to do all of that groundwork over again, because not over again, I had to do that groundwork once I got out of the classroom, or the K-12 classroom, and then moving on to being like an academic dean. I had to define who I wanted to be internally. And that's a big part of a lot of people's lives. Anyway, I feel like this was a really good start, because this is the work that I'm super interested in. Of course, there's still, that corporate instructional design, learning and development side that I want to get into as well, especially in my research. And I've started my master's course in that as well. It's really just a master's course about instructional design theory. And, in that class, we don't have to meet in person, but that class is it's an asynchronous class. There are 8 modules. The students go through the modules, and then I'm sort of like the guide on the side, which is what I like about that class, being the guide on the side and, trying to be as helpful and trying to, put those students in the best possible positions to be competitive in the market. I think I wish I could, meet with those students, but at the same time, those are, master students. They're working full-time jobs. Some of them are, heavy in the work. So, it's a little bit different. All in all, today has been a really awesome day. I got a chance to wear my regalia again. I never thought I'd be putting that stuff on again, but went to a convocation and welcomed the students in. I got to hear really awesome words just from the administration here. And, I'm super excited for what this year holds. First day of teaching. We'll see what happens. Also, today's my birthday, so that's icing on the cake right there. I don't really like to do stuff for my birthday, I don't think, but I figured later on today I told my wife I want Jet's Pizza. I know people don't. It's my birthday. Don't go to no Jet's Pizza, but man, they have a barbecue chicken pizza that is crazy. Anyway, I'm gonna hop off here. Just sharing how my first day went. I think it was awesome. Now I only had one class today from 1 to 1:50, so now I think the rest of my day is really just gonna look like tidying up, on some of the research that I'm doing right now. And I'm hungry right now, so I'm probably gonna go grab some lunch or grab a snack or something, and then just see if I can get some graded work done that I have in the master's course, because some of them are kind of moving ahead, and who knows? We'll chill out and see what happens. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, look, just leave a comment and I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. But as I navigate this field, I just want to be open and honest and share how it feels and what it's like being a faculty fellow here at Belmont University. Later.